Ni October karo mimba kono teng sibitina la abe benna wolela amulum baleti Gambia banko kan President Adama Barrow be juradi kela URR silol nin salol min yalon ko ido kuta nin silol nin salol ye URR kumbenne ni bota basse saloto ika borle fo wuli badala ye mano bori kotenke fo ye futa yorobawol ni futata yorobawol ibe selela lamin koto pasama silaba nyine kan wo mana silaba kilingo wole ke samba fo ye futa fatoto saloka yena sele koy nan nim basse silaba kan ibe manole borla fo ye futa basse kotenke woto mano fele ay URR kumben nyimmu lahidoleti President Barrow ye Gambian ko lahidi minna nyimbe ngomu tariko leti membe falindiri natila Gambian ko la balunyala fankoning hadama yala karola surtout mol ye min yalon ko wolle be siring santo la satelto woto ni October karo mimba kono teng manyan na fola mo koma lunne mi yalon ko Gambian ko be jurar kela yirwa ku balla min yalon ko idokota pour ka banko sambanyato nyin silol nin salol min yalon ko URR kumbeng mula hidoliti min yalon ko adita wala hidol fana fele itimmata woto alimbe nga deng nga yirwa ku ba jura nyola
Gambia, Angola, China Holding, GASH, producers of the finest tomato paste in the Gambia. Jeja tomato paste, available in 5 kilos, 1 kilo and in sachets. For wholesale and retail, visit our factory at Banjulunding. We are also producers of Jeja mineral water, cool, clear and fresh. GASH, Gambia, Angola, China Holding, with headquarters at Fatu Golden Plaza, Mile 7, Bertel Harding Highway. GASH Group also provides the best security company, GASH Security, for your offices, warehouses, homes and personal property. GASH Group for all your construction projects, offering you quality water reticulation for your gardens, pump irrigation, tidal irrigation projects and all types of buildings. You can contact GASH on 396-7894, 700-8993, 373-0259. Visit us at GASH Global Group on Battle Harden Highway, Fatu Golden Plaza. Our website www.gashglobal.com. Gambia, Angola, China Holding, GASH.
It's a warm reception to our studio here in Serekunda. This is Star TV News with me, Jacqueline Koli. In the headlines tonight, Independent Electoral Commission sets out rules and requirements for upcoming presidential elections. Commission conveys press conference hours after suspension of its operational license. Department of Labour organizes regional forum on child labor. Women under 20 takes on Burkina Faso in second leg of World Cup qualifiers. On the international scene, Afghan city defies norm by keeping schools open for girls. Argentina struggles with booming drug trade violence. Ethiopia asks to justify explosion of UN staff. Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail. As part of its monthly stakeholders dialogue, the Independent Electoral Commission on Wednesday held its consultative forum with the CSOs and the media on the nomination process and requirements for the upcoming December 4th presidential elections. Our son has the details.
Focusing on the nomination process as the presidential election is looming large, the Electoral Commission sets out the requirements for the nomination of a presidential candidate. The chairman of the Electoral Commission, Ali Momonjai, assured that there will be free, fair and transparent elections and urges everyone to get in touch with the IEC for more clarifications when it comes to their system of politics before promoting something that is not accurate.
And during that process, we also invite party agents and agents for independent candidates to witness every process of the voting system. in that we let them witness the beginning to the end. And our system is that counting is done on the spot. The results are signed by the party agents, so that nobody will dispute what each voter had. And then they communicate results to their headquarters for them to collate. And 5 hours before I do the announcement, they would have already known who's won and who's lost. That is why we are saying, no matter what people say or do, our system is probably the most transparent, accurate, and credible throughout the whole world.
The CEO of the IEC, Sambujanjai, listed the 12 requirements for nomination of a president.
And for your information, this year's nomination will be held outside the offices of the IEC in the compound, not in the conference hall. And we appeal to all of you to cooperate with the police during this period of the nomination. Moving on, I will now give a list of requirements for nomination of a president. Among them is a candidate shall be a citizen of the Gambia. 2, a candidate must have or attain a minimum age of 30 years. 3, a candidate must have completed senior secondary school education. 4, a candidate must have been ordinarily resident in the Gambia for 5 years immediately preceding the election. 5, a candidate must be nominated by not less than 5,000 voters whose name appeared in the register of voters, with at least 200 being drawn from each of the administrative areas. 6, a candidate must present a sworn declaration of assets. 7, a candidate must also put forward or present an income tax, a tax clearance certificate.
CEO Njai also clarified some of the issues that happened during the registration process.
We have clarified these things, that the 987,000 that we gave at the time was provisional. When we verified all the data we collected from the field, sort them out, do the correction, it goes down to 962. There should not be any worry for any voter who has registered thinking that his name is deleted. No. During the process, there were issues regarding photography of applicants, and they were redone. There were people who also, for one reason or the other, their names were not correctly spelled, and they asked for correction. So all these things we are taking care of, and our system in such a way that anything that goes in, you cannot delete it in the field. And what the field was reporting was what they were producing. So if you reprint, the count goes on. So those ones we have filtered and corrected. This is why it goes down. And again, like we always say, if there is a provisional, there is always final. And in terms of election, if the final is less than the provisional, we are good to go. If the final was more than the provisional, then I will not be pleased, because you will be accusing us with over-registration or hidden registration. So the 25,000 that is being talked in term is as a result of the verification and the processing of the data we have received. So I think, like we said the last time, the IEC has concluded on the voter registration. It's now a thing of the past for us.
Addressing the nomination process, Njai highlighted that aspiring candidates can collect nomination papers from the election house free of charge, and that the nomination will be conducted from 30th October to 5th November 2021 from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. daily at the election house. Candidates will be allocated different times to present their nomination papers to the returning officer of the election. The IEC will also put in place arrangements for the security to be put in place by the Gambia Police Force. This is to ensure a peaceful and orderly nomination period. He also advised political parties and candidates to fully cooperate with the police to ensure proper security. Awasane reporting for Star TV News.
The Ministry of Information and Communication Infrastructure has on October 5th suspended the operational license of Commune after 16 years of operations in the country. The directive was reportedly issued under the advice of PURA. But Commune on Wednesday organized a press conference at its head office in Caraba Avenue to brief the media about the consequences of the directive on its business. Momodu Gajigo reports.
The legal advisor at the Commune, Mrs. Javi, said Commune had about 120 to 130 staffs on its payroll, and that since the inception of the company 16 years ago, it never defaulted in the payment of staff salaries and benefits. According to her, Commune has since its entry into the Gambian market remained steadfast in honoring its corporate social responsibility and that it has been compliant. Mrs. Javi said apart from the license currently contested by PURA, Commune owes liabilities when it comes to pay as you earn and social security among others.
The landlords are the places where we have most of our sites, etc. We pay them on a yearly basis and have never defaulted in their payments. We also have security companies that we work with. And these said security companies, they hire people based on the contracts they have with us to guard the sites that we have, etc. As a GSM operator, it is difficult to shut down the network even for an hour.
Commune's technical director Lamin Jammeh explained that since its inception in 2006, Commune has always been struggling with myriad problems and has notwithstanding managed to execute its responsibility, including compliance to tax obligations. He pointed out that the company has, though, been struggling financially since 2019.
Yes, we had issues of investment, and we have been struggling financially from 2019 up to date. And the reason for that was the COVID-19. Everybody knows that. And unfortunately, we had another incident in 2020 when we had one of our prepaid platforms going down. That lasted for almost 2 months. We lost almost 50% of our customers. That hit us really hard. But despite that, we continued. And yes, we had issues. We were looking out for investors. Unfortunately, the investors, most of the investors we had were not very true to themselves. And we keep dragging. Unfortunately, whether fortunately or unfortunately, at the last hour, we were able to get an investor in the name of Monty Mobile. That's a well-known name in the sector. You guys can Google it. It's a very financially strong investor. Unfortunately, this was around the time that this suspension notice was given out to Commune. We tried to reach out to PURA.
It will be recalled that PURA has fortnight ago given an ultimatum to Commune to settle $65 million by October 1st in relation to its unpaid license obligation. For Star TV News, I am Momodu Gajugu.
The Department of Labor, in conjunction with UNICEF, organized a day-long regional forum on child labor in the Gambia. The forum aims to discuss and find solutions in preventing and eliminating the worst forms of child labor in the country. Maria Madam attended the forum and she prepared this report.
The forum brought together stakeholders from different institutions to look for ways to address the most pressing issues of child labor in the Gambia. Child labor can be spurred by many factors, including poverty and lack of educational opportunities. The Secretary General of the Gambia National Trade Union Congress, Ibrahima Gaba Cham, spoke about how children are being exploited and abused in the streets daily instead of going to school to obtain an education, noting that society has a vital role to play to eradicate such. Mr. Cham said the trade union has a plan to help these children in the streets to go back to school to save them from abuses and exploitation.
Even on skill. So these are all issues that children are facing, again with lots of abuses that we cannot explain in our deliberations unless during our discussion we can elaborate on them, because we are all going in and out of the country. Every day we see how exposed youths are in the streets, idling unnecessarily. And for that matter, we have a great role to play, because we are the elders of today, and we are the one held responsible to prepare the upcoming generation for a better future.
Maurice I.O. Anyim, National Coordinator of Child and Environmental Development Association, The Gambia, said it's high time to stop child labor in the country, as he appealed to the civil society to challenge the government to take up the responsibility to find solutions to address the challenges children are enduring daily. He also called on the government to use the children's budget on projects that will be beneficial to their well-being and not the other way around.
Enough is enough. We can no longer continue with this situation in this country. We can no longer continue to pretend as if we don't know the matters that are affecting the children. It is time for us, the civil societies, to get up. It is time for you people in the government to tap the shoulder of your seniors and tell them, please, can you look at the back? Don't pretend as if you don't know. If it is time for us equally to start asking them, where is the budget to address the situation of the children? Don't use our budget for children to do things that are not necessary.
Karamoke Keita, a member of the civil society, highlighted that children are used for economic gains, which is exposing them to numerous dangers, thus depriving them the opportunity to go to school. He emphasized the need for the root cause of the issues to be looked into to find solutions to child labor and related matters in the country.
I work with a sector that works directly with children in the traditional education system. We call the Majlis, or we call the Dara, or we call the Almudus. And when at any given time, when there is a need, or when we find children in the streets, or when children are engaged in labor, normal or hazardous labor, we tend to look at some of the issues, but notwithstanding, we are not looking at the root cause of why those children are in the street.
The Commissioner of the Department of Labor, Nyalo Barrow, explained the importance of the forum, saying it will avail participants the opportunity to understand about child labor and bring forward their ideas that will be in the interest of the children.
This forum is long overdue, and being stakeholders in combating what's called child labor in the country, it is important that this forum is organized and bring all the stakeholders across the board to discuss issues pertinent to child labor in this country. The forum is expected to be more interactive and sharing of experience in preparation for social partners in combating child labor in the country. And I believe it is a responsibility for all of us to work together to eliminate all forms of child labor which affects the education, health, and the well-being of our children, and to ensure that the children are protected and supported to become good persons to serve this country in the future. And I therefore urge all of you to attach importance to this program and take good stock of it and put it in good use in our spiritual activities in the course of eliminating the child labor in this country.
Meanwhile, according to UNICEF, about 160 million children across the globe were subjected to child labor at the beginning of 2020, with 9 million additional children at risk due to the impact of COVID-19. This accounts for nearly 1 in 10 children worldwide. Almost half of them are in hazardous works that directly endanger their health and moral developments. Maria Madem, reporting for Star TV News.
The Scorpions women under-20 team traveled to Benin last night to face off with Burkina Faso in a return leg of the FIFA Women's Under-20 World Cup qualifiers after they were defeated in their first encounter by 1-0 at the Independence Stadium in Bakau. More in this report. The 33 persons of the delegation, headed by the Women's Football Association chairperson, Ms. Senabu Cham, left the Banjul International Airport last night, hoping to overturn a 1-0 home deficit in a match that will be played at a neutral venue as a result of CAF's decision to ban the Burkina Faso National Stadium from hosting the international game. Before the team left for Benin, it went through a COVID-19 test in which all the results came out negative. This was done before they had their last training session at the late Usman Saho field in Yundum. In their first encounter with Burkina Faso, the Gambian team put up a dominant first half display, missing 2 glorious chances. Despite being dominant, their opponent took a 1-0 win against them. Will they now overturn the 1-0 deficit in their second leg encounter with Burkina Faso? This encounter will be a tough one for the Gambia, as Burkina Faso braces up to make it through to the next round. Jacqueline Coley for Star TV News. Those were the local stories. The international news will come up soon after the short break. Stay tuned.
Gambia, Angola, China Holding, GASH, producers of the finest tomato paste in the Gambia. Jeja tomato paste, available in 5 kilos, 1 kilo and in sachets. For wholesale and retail, visit our factory at Banjulanding. We are also producers of Jeja mineral water, cool, clear and fresh. GASH, Gambia, Angola, China Holding, with headquarters at Fatu Golden Plaza, Mile 7, Bertel Harding Highway. GASH Group also provides the best security company, GASH Security, for your offices, warehouses, homes and personal property. GASH Group for all your construction projects, offering you quality water reticulation for your gardens, pump irrigation, tidal irrigation projects and all types of buildings. You can contact GASH on 396-7894, 700-8993, 373-0259. Visit us at GASH Global Group on Battle Harden Highway, Fatu Golden Plaza. Our website www.gashglobal.com. Gambia, Angola, China Holding, GASH.
Yin October karo memba akonoteng sibitin nala abeben na wolela amulum baleti Gambia banko kan President Adama Barrow be juradi kela URR silol nin salol min yalon ko ido kuta nin silol nin salol ye URR kumbenne ni bota base saloto ika borle fo wuli badala ye mano bori kotenke fo ye futa yorobawol ni futa ta yorobawol ibe selela lamin koto pasama silaba nyine kan wo mana silaba kilingo wole ke samba fo ye futa fatoto saloka yena sele koy nan nim base silaba kan ibe manole borla foye futa base kotenke woto mano fele ay URR kumbeng nyimmu lahido leti President Barrow e Gambian ko lahidi minna nyimbe mu tariko leti membe falindiri natila Gambian ko la balunyala fankoning hadama yala karola surtout mol ye min yalon ko wolle be siring santola satelto woto ni October karo memba akonoteng manyan na fola mo koma lunne mi yalon ko Gambian kolbe jurar kela yirwa ku balla min yalon ko idokota pour ka banko sambanyato nyin silol nin salol min yalon ko URR kumbeng mula hidoliti mi yalon ko adita wala hidol fana fele itimmata woto alimbe nga den nga nyi yirwa ku ba jura nyola.
Welcome back after a commercial break. If you're just tuning in, this is Star TV News from our studio here in Serekunda. And now on the international news, the Taliban came to power promising to respect women's rights and allow girls' education in line with Islamic precepts. But higher schools and public universities are still closed across Afghanistan as the group says it still needs time to sort out the logistics of allowing female students back. But the northern city of Mazar-il-Sharif is the exception that proves the rule. Al Jazeera's Hashim Al-Hilbara reports.
This is the only place in Afghanistan where girls can go to school. Mazar-e-Sharif is a vibrant cultural and commercial center, and schools have remained open since the Taliban took over the country. Here at Gohar Khatun, one of the most established elementary and high schools in the city, girls hope to pursue their studies and chase their dreams.
I have a big dream, and it's my whole life blueprint, and I want to be an astronaut in the future. And it seems to be a big dream to achieve in Afghanistan, but I hope so someday I could be just traveling to space, and that's very nice.
For the teachers, the curriculum hasn't changed for now, but the future is uncertain. Mawlawi Muhammad Mu'in Balkhi is the man in charge of education in the city.
We need female teachers, architects, doctors, but we also want our women to be educated along Islamic beliefs and principles. We value women. The first lessons we learn come from our mothers.
Female students cannot go to public universities yet. The Taliban says it's sorting out the logistics. These are students of medicine at the prestigious Maulana Jalaluddin Muhammad Balkhi University. The curtain was recently added to segregate students by gender.
For now, the future is unclear because we have no idea what the Taliban will decide about girls' education. Look at other provinces. Universities are still closed.
ZABIHULLAH NOORANI is the Taliban's senior culture and information official in the city. He says education is one of the top priorities for the leadership.
Schools are open, teachers and students go to classrooms and life is normal, and curriculums remain the same. We haven't changed anything so far.
Noorani is one of the many Taliban officials who believe the US and many European countries are trying to discredit the group when it is desperately seeking international recognition. The debate over girls' education in Afghanistan has extended to what kind of role will they have under the Taliban rule, and will they get represented in the government and parliament, and most importantly, will their basic rights be protected? The Taliban has dismissed international concerns about women's rights as a propaganda and insisted the world must also respect Afghanistan's culture and the Taliban's conservative outlook. Hashim Al-Bara, Al Jazeera, Mazar-e-Sharif.
Shooting have become an everyday occurrence in Argentina's slums as gangs battle each other to control the local drug trade. There has been a rise in threats, shootings, and even executions over the past year. Now, the government is sending federal forces into one of the country's busiest ports to help in the fight against gangs and drugs. Al Jazeera's Teresa Bo reports from the city of Rosario, Argentina.
It's become one of the most dangerous cities in Argentina. Rosario, nearly 300 kilometers northwest of Buenos Aires. Shootings have become an everyday occurrence as gangs battle each other to control the drug trade.
We just received a call that a woman heard 30 shots, so we came here as fast as we could. We're evaluating what's going on, checking on possible suspects.
We accompanied the police during several raids across the city. They were looking for drugs, cash, and guns. One of Argentina's most important ports is located here. Authorities say it's a getaway for drugs. And the violence here is all about control of the local trade.
We are seeing cocaine, marijuana. Drug trade has increased in Rosario, and we are trying to go to different areas, like slums, where suspects are hiding. We are seeing lots of young people who are behind the attacks. They begin around 16 years old. Many of them are responsible for several killings. Big gangs are using teenagers and children.
Residents in the slums of Rosario are struggling with poverty and difficulties that have been exacerbated by the pandemic. There is scarcity of food and jobs. Families, especially children, are intimidated by the strong police presence. the gang leader of a group known as Los Monos, was recently put on trial for using children to sell drugs and for threatening judicial authorities. He was sentenced to over 80 years in prison. But his power and influence go beyond the prison walls. The police says that one of the persons being held here has close links with one of the gang leaders that is currently in prison. So operations like this one are happening almost every night as the security forces here in Rosario are trying to tackle violence. Last week, the government of Alberto Fernandez agreed to send federal forces to help in the fight against gangs after a protected witness was executed. Congressman Carlos del Frade has been receiving threats for months. He has been denouncing for years the system that has allowed the drug trade to flourish.
There are local drug sales, but above them you have criminals in the police, in the justice system, among businessmen who are not appearing anywhere. The real delinquents are not being touched. The gangs can buy everyone. Increasing government forces is only a temporary problem. They have to control the money, and nobody does that.
So for now, the focus is on the slums and on its people. It is here where criminal organizations find the foot soldiers they need to continue with their trade. Teresa Bo, Al Jazeera, Rosario.
The UN Secretary General has demanded evidence from Ethiopia over its expulsion of 7 UN staff on misconduct allegations. Antonio Guterres intervened in a rare public exchange with Ethiopia's ambassador. He is also calling on its government to allow unrestricted access to deliver humanitarian aid to millions of people. Al Jazeera's James Bays reports from the UN.
With the conflict in Ethiopia widening and the humanitarian crisis growing, the UN Secretary-General addressed the Security Council.
The country is facing an immense humanitarian crisis that demands immediate attention. All efforts should be squarely focused on saving lives and avoiding a massive human tragedy. This makes last Thursday's announcement by the government of Ethiopia to expel 7 senior UN officials, most of them humanitarian staff, particularly disturbing.
But the Ethiopian ambassador then justified those expulsions with new allegations. He claimed that the 7 senior staff had falsified data, inflated humanitarian figures, and even had invented cases of death by starvation.
They were looking to create a Darfur-like situation. They suddenly and overnight created 1 million victims of health disaster.
The Secretary-General had taken the unusual step of asking for a right to reply
and invite the Secretary-General of the United Nations.
He demanded that the Ethiopians provide documents to prove their new claims.
We believe Ethiopia is violating international law in doing so, and we are ready to cooperate with the government of Ethiopia in relation to any situation in which the government of Ethiopia feels that any member of the UN is not behaving in total impartiality, in total independence, as humanitarian law prescribes.
As he left the Security Council chamber, he added this.
It is my duty to defend the honor of the United Nations.
The Secretary-General has made it clear that he believes a humanitarian catastrophe is unfolding in Ethiopia and urgent international action is needed. However, the Security Council remains divided, and almost a year since the crisis started, Security Council members have only been able to agree one joint statement. James Bays, Al Jazeera, at the United Nations.
And before we end the news, a recap of our main headlines. Independent Electoral Commission sets out rules and requirements for upcoming presidential elections. Commission conveys press conference hours after suspension of its operational license. Department of Labour organizes regional forum on child labour. Women under 20 takes on Burkina Faso in second leg of World Cup qualifiers. On the international scene, Afghan state defies norm by keeping schools open for girls. Argentina struggles with booming drug trade violence. Ethiopia asks to justify expulsion of UN staff. That's all for this edition of the news. Do join us tomorrow for more news. Please stay tuned and enjoy the rest of our programs. Thanks for watching and bye for now.